and to wish upon the eventual reunification of Korea. We gather in the wake of the Olympics, which coincided with the overt calls of support for the seminal Korean women's joint ice hockey team, a united Korea marching under a united Korean flag, and the reconvening of high-level talks between delegations on both sides of the Korean peninsula. It is in the glow of these spirits that we express our concern over these United States, which has continued to increase its military presence across the Asia-Pacific, which has unequivocally taken a stance of war posturing towards the North, which has levied historically unprecedented sanctions against the North, and which holds our entire collective breaths in intimating a first military strike. It is my hope that we, within these United States, recognize the ways in which this nation's economy has always been and continues to be built on the pilfering and profiteering off of lands ruptured and people displaced by the United States' responsibility in military violence and war.
This meeting was made possible after DPRK President Kim Jong-un messaged his wishes for success of the 2018 Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang.
Hey, sir. You up on sidewalk. Thank you.
At the meeting, which lasted 11 hours, the delegations from the divided country agreed on the participation of athletes from the North Korean country in the Winter Olympics. They also discussed other issues related to improving relations, such as the possible reunification of families separated by the Korean War. The parties also agreed to hold talks between Army officials to discuss ways to avoid dangerous military incidents. It was the first official meeting by the two sides in more than 2 years. The negotiations took place between the two Koreas in the demilitarized zone. This breakthrough has led one analyst to say that the talks might yet be another example where the U.S. is sidelined and peaceful solutions can be found by local players.
My name is Steve Zuraki. I'm with Veterans for Peace.
And what is Veterans for Peace?
Veterans for Peace is a national organization of veterans who understand the real cost of war and promoting peace and a peace economy. That money can be better used for civilian purposes, not for the war machine.
Okay, and what brought you here today specifically about this No War in Korea event?
We want a negotiated settlement in Korea. We want to stop the threats. We want to stop the military war games that are going on. We want negotiations.
And earlier you saw the counter protesters across the street. You see them right there. They're saying bomb North Korea and North Korean genocide. What do you think about those people there?
Well, we don't obviously like the North Korean regime, the government there, but negotiations are the only solution. If there's a war, a lot of people in South Korea are going to get killed. A lot of people, innocent people in North Korea, are going to get killed. There is no war solution. It's got to be a negotiated settlement.
Okay, so even as someone who does not support the North Korean government, you still are opposed to war in Korea.
There can be no war. It's going to be tragic. There's going to be tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of civilians who are going to get killed in both South Korea and North Korea. We cannot let this happen.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Peace treaty now! Korea is one! 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 Peace treaty now! Korea is one!
Korean War, we are calling for a formalized peace treaty to end military aggressions throughout the Korean Peninsula, and we are calling for an end to the United States war economy. So thank you everyone for coming here today. Organizing this rally and march would not have been possible without some of our endorsing organizations, several of whom are on hand today.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank everyone for the participation in this needed demonstration to call attention to U.S. imperial aggression on the DPRK. I'm a Vietnam era veteran. In 1966, after graduating from high school, I foolishly enlisted for the United States Marine Corps. 1 year after my enlistment, I was sent to Vietnam. Very naive, extremely naive, thinking that I was fighting for a worthwhile cause. Upon my arrival there, and noticing the savage behavior of imperial troops that wore the same uniform that I wore, I come to recognize basically what imperialism was all about. Basically, I'd say I got my feet wet. I'll put it that way. Upon my involvement in Vietnam, I had a chance to see basically how the empire function in other countries in order to seize what they want, basically. Brute force, intimidation, terror, threat, dehumanization, everything imaginable you could think of. In fact, it's as though they're taking a play out of Adolf Hitler's playbook on how to build an empire. I came to realize basically while I was there that the Vietnamese people were one people, basically. Whether they lived north of the demilitarization zone or south of it, spoke the same language, they looked the same, and in fact, many of them basically shared a common desire to be free of Western imperialism. They showed that by the fact that many of the most courageous fighters were in the South. They referred to them as VCs, which the Vietnamese people didn't recognize, basically. They were freedom fighters who wore civilian uniforms, basically. They fought as guerrilla fighters, very courageous fighters, I must say. I came to realize that my actions were wrong, my thoughts were wrong when I arrived, that I was in total error. I gained enormous respect for the Vietnamese people, and in fact, I see a parallel between the Vietnamese people and the people of Korea. There's only one Korea. Whether they're north or south, just one Korea. And the only one creating that animosity is Western imperialism, better known as the United States of America. They're doing it for the interest of the ruling elite, basically, who come in the form of corporations and other entities. They're there basically to set up as an intimidation against China, and basically their empire is rotten to the core. I say that much. They seek to divide and continue to divide the Korean people. They took it as a slap in the face when the head of state for the Korean people south of the DMZ and the head of state north of the DMZ set together as brothers. And that's actually what they are. They're brothers, basically. Same language, same people, and same desire to be free. It's this Western imperialist that's creating all that animosity.
Olympic Games, yes. World Games, no. 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 Olympic Games, yes. yes. War Games, no. Olympic Games, yes. War Games, no.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Domenico, and I'm with Buy-In USA. And Buy-In USA is the largest alliance of national democratic organizations fighting for national liberation and against imperialism in the Philippines. We are here marching and standing with everyone today because we realize the importance of standing with the aspirations of the Korean people for peace and reunification. In this past month, we have seen the efforts of both South Korea and the Democratic and the DPRK efforts in building and taking meaningful steps towards peace in the Korean Peninsula. And we watched this happen despite the US and Trump's attempts to dismantle it by trying to play his war games by threatening North Korea with bombs and war.
The people who are on the side of the Korean War against the DPRK. So we need to continue to call out these hypocrisies. In addition to that, being people who are inside the United States, we have the opportunity to fight against the U.S. empire from the inside, from the belly of the beast. There's more of us than there are them. Most of the American people do not want war, and we're not outnumbered, we're out-organized. So we need to get organized, take on the U.S. empire. A lot of great organizations today here that are here. I suggest you get involved with one of them and join us in this struggle. Thank you.
I'm not going to take up too much time, but I just wanted to talk a little bit. So I think our goal here today is not just to stop all the wars, aggression, and exploitation caused by the United States. We have to stop the system that created that war, and that system is capitalism. These recent attacks on the DPRK is the last in a long history of coups and destabilization tactics in the region. The U.S. has accused DPRK of terrorism and causing conflict, but nothing could be further from the truth. This is a struggle of indigenous peoples resisting U.S. imperialism and exploitation. We need to recognize this struggle as a global struggle. Borders are colonial lines drawn to keep the working class apart. We need to recognize the global struggle is tied directly to capitalism and specifically the United States war machine. Today, we unite to defend DPRK and all oppressed peoples fighting against imperialism. Through defending our comrades, we connect our struggle to oppressed people all over the world. The ruling class wants to divide our struggles. They want us to believe that our comrades are not with us. They are. We all have a personal responsibility to fight because we're at the epicenter of capitalism. If we don't stand up to fight for the Korean people's and all people's right to self-determination and autonomy, we are participating in this war and supporting imperialism.
Olympic Games, yes. War Games, no. 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 Olympic Games, yes.